Alright, quick unbox, and we're going to take this guy down to the range and try her out. CVLIFE Bear Power, they call it. 1-8x24 LPVO, low power variable optic tactical rifle scope. Got our lens cloth in there, tool, got some hardware there, the batteries for the Illuminated Reticle. I get to fight with the rubber band again. There we go. Be smart this time. And it comes with cantilever mount, as you can see there. Alright. It's got exposed tactical turrets, which are lockable. Okay. They are re-zeroable, so you can see your index mark there. Oh, I got it locked. Real nice audible clicks. So as I said, they're re-zeroable. So if you zero your rifle for whatever distance, and let's say you're all the way up here to get it zeroed, you want to bring it back to zero, you can do so without changing the point of impact of your bullet, without making this click and change your zero. You just take this cap off here, and then you pull up a little bit and it'll spin freely without clicking. Back to zero, reinstall the cap, tighten it down, and then you'll be back to zero while maintaining whatever distance you zeroed the rifle for. So if you want to adjust it from there for further range shots, and you know your marks, dope, amount of MOA you need there, so that you can still use the center reticle if that's what you want to do. That's what that's for. But this does have a BDC reticle, ballistics drop compensating reticle. So typically the way most guys are going to use this, and we'll go over that more in the video and I'll show it and all that, you're going to zero this for 100 yards, and then it has little hash marks for 300, 400, 500, even clear out the 800 yards on this guy. Shows you where you need to aim without changing anything for where your bullet's going to hit. And this is calibrated for the 5.56 caliber, which is the standard AR caliber, as most of you guys know. So you zero it for 100, and then you got all those marks for the further distances. And again, I will show that. Illuminated reticle, which it's just the center reticle, which is also a range finding reticle. So you got little marks up there, or you can even use the space in between the red there to gauge your distance. If you know target size, you know whether you're shooting steel silhouettes or a whitetail deer or anything like that. You got these marks here to help you reference based off of what you're aiming at, just how far out it is, if you do not have a electronic laser rangefinder to tell you the exact distance. You can use some of these marks and even that center reticle there to gauge your distance. That way you know which one of these marks to use. Try to get it up close. I'll probably get a picture for you guys, but like I said, you zero for 100, then you got 300, 400, 500 mark. They even got you clear out the 800 yards here. And then you even got little wind hold marks. The dots are 15 mile an hour crosswinds, and closer in is going to be, you know, for 5 and 10 mile an hour winds there. But there's a quick overview of the reticle, and that's how it works. So it can kind of range find for you if you know what it looks like corresponding to these marks, depending on the distance that it is. See if I missed anything else in the box here. I think that's it. So everything's in the baggie here. So as you saw on the paper, it's got the illuminated reticle. Got your flip up caps here to protect the lenses. 24 mil on the front, 36 on the rear, I believe. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, 36 millimeter. They're advertising here that you have 50 MOA of adjustment, which is a lot. But a big part of that due to the fact that this is a 30 millimeter tube, so it's not a little skinny 1-inch tube like a lot of these are. This is actually a 30 millimeter tube, so it's thicker. It gives you more range of adjustment. See there, they're advertising your eye relief anywhere from about 3.5 inches up to 4.2 inches. It's going to vary by user depending on your focus here with your diopter. So there's your quick focus diopter. So you can set it for your specific eyesight to get a good focus there. There's your variable zoom. up to 8x, like I said, for longer range shots. And then 1x, which is no magnification whatsoever, so you can use it at close range, just like a red dot or iron sights or whatever, with 0 magnification. Also, these caps are see-through. A lot of times the LPVOs come with that, so in case you have an immediate threat right now, right up in your face, don't have time to flip the caps up, these are see-through caps, so you can actually shoot it close range without having to worry about flipping those caps up, if, like I said, if it's immediate close range danger like that. On the side, here's your dial for the illumination, and you got 11 different settings of brightness. So I'll test it out in daylight. Typically your illuminated reticle is for low light conditions, so if you're aiming at a dark target in low light, that way your crosshairs and all this, which is typically going to be black without the illumination, if it's hard to see that against a dark colored target when the light is low, or complete darkness if you can even see your target, that's what the illumination is for, so that you can actually see what you're aiming at there with your crosshairs. Trying to see if they already got a battery in here or not. I know it comes with the 2 batteries, so I'll pop this battery in real quick, check out the illumination, but we'll also check it out in the field. But I know a lot of times people wonder about these batteries. Right there you go. You got an expiration date of December 2030, and it's currently December 2023. So these are not old batteries. You're getting very fresh batteries with this. Always kind of difficult to get on camera, but there's what you're looking at. Basically, I'll get better shots of this out in the field for you guys when we take it down to the range. I think that about covers it for the unboxing, so we'll get down to the range, get her mounted up, and we'll try her out, and I'll be sure to demonstrate some of those BDC hold marks for you. So I'll get it 0 to 100, and we'll get out to at least 300 yards to try that first mark, and depending on how busy the range is, I might be able to try for 400 and 500 as well. Alright, there she is all mounted up down here at the rifle range. Start out here at about 15-20 yards, take a shot, just see where it's at on paper to make the necessary adjustments. Then I'll take it out further to get the 0 finalized and shoot a group or 2 with it. And then I'll get my 16-inch steel gong out there at further ranges to hit as well and test those BDC holdover marks. And by the way, yes, I know it's silly to have this scope mounted up with an A2 front sight, but this is the only .223 5.56 caliber firearm that I own at the moment, so it's the only option I have available to me right now. So on the lowest setting, 1x magnification, due to that front sight sticking up, you will see it in the bottom of the scope a little bit. So ideally you're going to want to have this mounted on something with the flip up sights, but it's still not going to affect anything. It's just slightly annoying that you see that sticking up in the bottom of the scope there. But once you zoom in like 6, 7, 8, you don't even see that anymore because it zooms past that front sight and it completely vanishes. So I'm going to show you what it looks like down here at 100 yards, and you'll see what I'm talking about. On 1x you can see that front sight, but on 8x it's completely gone. So you can use it on a rifle that has an A2 sight like that if you want, but on the lower power magnifications, you're going to have that sticking up in the bottom of the scope there. Notice the eye relief. I have a full picture without having to get up close on it. Alright, aiming dead center on the target there, so our first shot's a little low right. It's normal for it to be a little low at this closer range, so I'm not so worried about that, but I need to bring it left a little bit. Alright, I gave it some clicks to the left, so we're down there at 100 yards now. Unbeknownst to me, the camera shifted in the wind and then also went out of focus, so kind of crappy footage here, so I'm going to skip that so you guys don't have to endure that. But I will show you the results down here at 100 yards while I was still working on it and getting the 0 finalized. So there's some of the groups I was shooting down there at 100 yards, working on getting the 0 finalized. Everything's a 5-shot group except for the one on the right. For some reason I only took 2 shots there, I can't remember why. Alright, I got my gong out there at 300 yards. See if I can zoom in and find it here. Oh, there it is. On the right side of that mound, middle of your screen, you can see it's white there. Hope those sticks don't get in my way. I was wondering about that down there, but the left side of the mound was frozen. It's only like, well, now it's in the 40s, but last night it was in the 20s, so everything's still kind of frozen and trying to thaw out. Anyway, 16-inch steel gong down there at 300 yards. So we'll use that first hash mark, which should be where the bullet impacts at 300 yards. And I'm going to try for at least 4, but that's dependent on whether or not, I'm trying to see if there's sunlight on that mound down there. Yeah, not currently. I can't tell. If I can get my hook in the ground down there at 400, we'll try the 400 mark as well. But in regards to that BDC reticle, that's going to work for you whether you're using 55 grain 5.56 or 62 grain 5.56. Reason being that the trajectories on these are almost identical. So this one comes out a little faster and shoots a little flatter at first, but a lighter bullet will slow down faster. So further out, your heavier bullet that comes out slower initially starts to match the path of the faster round because the faster round slows down faster. So these are pretty well even, clear out to at least 500 yards. Beyond that, the lighter one will probably start dropping more. But conveniently, these actually have the ballistic charts on them here. What the heck? Had a bump on there. So 55 grain on the bottom, 62 grain on the top. So you 0 for 100 yards. At 200 yards, the 55 grain is 3.2 inches low. 62 grain is 3.6 inches low at 200. So fractions of an inch difference. At 300 yards, the 55 grain still drops a little less, 12.7 inches, 13.6 with the 62 grain. So just slightly less than an inch difference at 300. At 400, 30.7 for the 55, 31.7, so you got a full inch difference, but we're talking 1 inch. That's not a very big difference. You're still going to hit your target. And then you see there at 500, it gets much closer because this is where, again, your lighter bullet is slowing down faster, even though it comes out faster. So now they're starting to even up down there at 500 yards. You got 60.6 low with the 55 grain and 60.8. And it'll kind of continue that pattern. But you can see finally at 500 yards, the 62 grain isn't really dropping any more than the 500 grain like it was at 300 and 400 yards, because now it's starting to catch up with the velocity of that 55 grain bullet. Also, I'm not sure when, somewhere shortly after 500 yards, I think these things go subsonic, so they drop below the sound barrier. And once you're going that slow, you don't really lose velocity very fast at that point. So at that point, the difference between 55 and 62 grains is not really going to make much difference at all. So even out 6, 7, maybe even the 800 yards, like they got that 800 yard mark on there, although I've never shot 5.56 800 yards. It's still going to be pretty close. So we'll get set up here and take a few shots at it. I'll use the 300 yard mark, aim dead center, see what happens. All right, I'm gonna go move it out 400, see if we have any luck out there, and that's again if that mound isn't frozen solid so I can actually get my hook into the ground. But the large groups that I'm getting with this ammo is not gonna help us out any, so I'm definitely not gonna try any further than 400. All right, I'm gonna try 400 now. Well, she seems a little high still down there at 400 using the 400 yard mark. It would still get you on a man-sized target, but she is averaging a little high for me there. So I'm just going to aim lower. I was aiming at the center of the target, so now I'm going to use that 400-yard hash mark, and I'm just going to aim at the bottom edge of that target, which should get us on the plate. And it can vary some from ammunition. Like if I'm using Federal or Winchester, it might work perfect out there 300-400 yards and be dead on. So sometimes it depends on the brand as well, because you know your PMC might have a slightly different velocity than what your Winchester does, and then what your Federal and your Remington and so on and so forth. So it's also possible that it's shooting a little high for me at 400 due to the wind. Everyone knows the wind can move the bullet to the left or to the right if it's blowing left or right, but often overlooked if the wind has an updraft where it's blowing upward, or if it's blowing downward, that can affect your impact as well. And I'm shooting through a valley out here which has kind of like a vortex in it. Sometimes at the same time it'll be blowing left at a certain distance, and a little further out it's blowing right. But there's actually a huge dip out there in the middle that I'm shooting across that probably causes updrafts from time to time. All right, I think that was, oh, I don't remember, 5, 6, 7 in a row, something like that at 400 there. So yeah, for some reason, at least with that PMC 55 grain, it's zeroed at 100 roughly, as best as it can be zeroed with that large group that I keep getting down there. Does not like that ammo. Shoots a little higher than what the hash marks indicate, but I'm thinking it's probably that ammo there. Like I said, you switch from brand to brand, you're going to have slightly different velocities, slightly different impact. So also the possible updraft on this windy day. Field of view at 100 yards on 1X is 92 feet. All the way up on 8X is 13 feet. Again, please keep in mind it's very difficult to capture these images through the scope with the camera, so it looks much more clear and crisp in person. And since I was shooting 400 yards in the video, I wanted you guys to see what that looked like to me. So here's 1X at 400 yards, which of course looks like 400 yards because it's on 1X, which is no magnification. And then all the way up there on 8X is what you're looking at 400 and 500 yards. Closest mountain there's 400. So as you can see, it gets you plenty close to your targets out there at 400. And honestly, it looked even larger to me when I was looking through the scope than what you're seeing here. In order to capture these images, again, difficult with the camera. I was actually like a foot or more back from the scope, but putting my actual eye up to it, the image actually looked larger than this at 400 yards to me. So here's sort of low light. I mean, it was daytime, but it was late in the evening and it was overcast and cloudy, so just basically kind of gloomy conditions out. You can see the crosshairs there, no issue, but you can imagine if you went up into those trees there, they would kind of disappear because they're dark like the background. And then there's with the Reticle Illuminated in the exact same conditions. And again, much more clear and crisp in person than through the camera here. And then now here in even lower light as the sun was setting, and as you can see, I was having even more of an issue getting a clear image with the camera. I had to back up away from the scope too, so the darker it gets, the more difficult it is for me to get a clear image for you guys through my camera. It took me like 20 attempts just to get this one. And then here, it's almost completely dark. You would have difficulty spotting an animal out in that open field at these light levels. And that's the illumination there. And this, of course, is not with the illumination power all the way up. I have it turned down so it's not excessively bright in this condition. So it could go brighter if you wanted it, but I had it set low. Also, another thing I want to point out, that little red halo ring around the edge. Somehow the camera was picking that up, but I could not see that at all. So overall, I think it's pretty good scope for the price. Again, link in the description if you want to check it out. I have no complaints with it. It was clear and crisp for me all day, no matter 1X or 8X. No matter shooting 50 yards or 400 yards. Nice, clear, clean image for me, and reticle and crosshairs there. Everything worked as it should. And one other thing I just noticed, I've been doing this video in parts throughout the day, throughout the days, excuse me. And I went to pull it out of the box here, and I realized that from 2 days ago when I had this out getting those images in the low light there with the illuminated reticle, I actually left this thing on and it's still illuminated, so battery life's pretty decent as well. But yeah, there you go. And I will also mention it does have a few other features that other similarly priced and branded 1-8 LPVOs do not have, like the exposed tactical turrets with the markings and the re-zero capability, and also that illuminated reticle. And of course it comes with the cantilever mount there and the scope flip up caps, which some of them do, but not all. But that'll do it for the review. Again, link in the description if you want to go check it out. Also links in the description for all the products I use in my videos, like my shooting bag there, paper target holder, paper targets, steel targets, and more. Links in the description for all that. Check out the parts, accessories, and optics playlist on the channel for more videos like this. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one.